The first thing I wanted to do was just quickly get the tier list done, showing like a few decks for every class. These two, including this shitter, such that we will want decks for day one, they can play decks for day one. I think that the best deck is going to be Hybrid Portal. It can clear boards through the 3 damage AoE part artifact. It can heal through the 3 healing artifact. It can do burn and can kill through Orcus. It can kill through the 10/10. It has good healing, has good single target removal, which most decks don't have both board clears and single target removal. Midsword builds towards the best of any class, of any deck. That's the main thing that gets it there. Also, it has pretty good burn in Albert, being on turn 9, getting through most defensive decks boards and dealing 12 or 10. Roach Forest is probably the most iffy of the tier 1 picks, but doing 5, 3, 4, 5 turns in a row, or doing 4 twice in a single turn and clearing boards through your bouncing of your Lily and bouncing May is pretty efficient. You can clear boards through Glade, but some decks that Glade is not quite big enough that go wide. Ramdragon is king of inconsistency, does have good burn, can build multiple chunkers, which a lot of decks actually cannot deal with 3 or even 2 big cards outside of like Pildow and removal, so they need an evolve, but you can keep building boards post evolve. Aggro Dragon is sort of the same thing. You have that same end game, but you have a significantly better early game and more burn overall, just because of Fan of Otahime. Tempo Haven, I don't think this is very good. I think that the idea is really strong. I clear a board and build a large board on the same turn in the mid game through either Sonfina, Skullfane, or Feather. I just don't know what the list is going to be like. Am I running Manu? Am I running Dark Haven? Am I running Avian Statue? I don't really know. I think this list is pretty poorly built, but the deck archetype overall is going to end up quite strong. I think this list is tier 3. I think the vision of the archetype is tier 2. Sort of not being able to necessarily deal with the Ramp Dragon stuff and not being as consistent as the tier 1 decks. Although Roach isn't going to be super consistent, it's going to be kind of reliant on hitting Godswan. Aggro Sword, it's just the worst mid sword. And it's here to give 2 sword decks. Aggro Abyss, the most aggressive deck, does a lot of burn, hits face, runs out of gas. You probably would do better just to play the Ziff list than this, since you don't have to build a legendary for that. Then you have your pure artifacts, which still runs a puppet card, but you're running your Elmio win condition, you're running your Caretaker for board clear, you've got more Miriams, you've got more you've got a UD for fun, and you've got a win con in Rule of Cocytus. Dirt Rune I think is just pretty good at clearing boards, and that's it. Has okay healing. It can run some decks out of cards and then kind of win through it. Kuon's here just because it's a big guy that can hit face. You don't really need your super evolves. Pure Puppets, it has the face damage and the removal of the single target removal of RT Portal, but lacks the extra late game, the healing, and the board clear. Spell Boost, I'm not quite sure on how to build Spell Boost. I feel like the best way to build it is just on turn 6 and 7, you play a 3-cost Dimension Clash, you slam some Destroyers down, you put a massive board, and hope your opponent can't clear like 3 big guys. Control Haven, kill your opponent's stuff, draw cards, heal, summon a bunch of Unholy Vessels, damage your opponent 10 times. Play your Mordecai, play your Cocytus, win the game. You're gonna get hit in the face and cry when you play this deck. Midrange Abyss, you have mostly just to get Serby, honestly. So it's really good. Mukan's the best. Mukan, Ghost Juggler, Shadow Crypt are the best multi-target removal suite. Fine. You also got Ceres for healing. I don't care for Medusa that much, but against other slow decks, it's okay. Also, you do have Rage of the Serpents for burn, which other decks don't really have. And just so I've got another forest deck, Control Forest. Control Forest I don't think is very viable. I think you'd play Aggro Forest over Control Forest, which is just Roach Forest but with Amataz Scam added to it. This plans on going a lot longer and can win additionally through Rhino Roach, because every forest deck's going to be playing Rhino Roach. But you're pretty fine as is. As for a bonus, I built a Control Abyss deck. It's terrible, but it's kind of cool and I wanted to show it. I'm not going to explain this deck for you though. That's why I think the tier list is, if you just wanted a quick pick. These are not necessarily full. Like, I think there's list to talk about with Midsword. And another list here somewhere as well. But I'm going to do that now. Otherwise, yeah. So, why do I think Artie is going to be so good? He's going to be the best deck. Well, first of all, and second of all, and third of all, it's Ominous Artifact. You can board clear, you can heal, and you can burn. The burn isn't super useful if you're planning on just playing like Control, and you're doing what, 10? Okay. Your opponent took 3 damage this game. Woohoo. But you add in Orcus, dealing 8 on its Super Evolve pretty easily. With a random puppet, Orcus being a very good multi-target, multi-large minion, large follower, target board clear. And puppets providing you with multiple additional small pings, mediums removal and large removal through medical grade assassin, and the regular strong mid game of the artifacts, and you have a really difficult deck to out with solid healing, solid burst, and good clear potential. I think this deck is very, very solid. And you are thinking about, I need 5 artifacts in my hand for turn 5 to be able to make whatever I want in every single matchup. This means that the deck has to run all of the plus ones, which is Artifact Recharge, Miriam, and Rukina. Those cards put 2 artifacts into your hand, unlike the others, which only add 1 to your hand. By turn 5, you need to have played 2+2s, if you, generally speaking, and 3, and 2 other ones. Sorry. Yeah, because you get, that's 6. Okay, you need to play 2+2s and 1. Or 1+2 and 3. Which I think this list can do reasonably consistently, especially given that this card adds 2 to hand. And you can then fuse, summon, and clear the board. And it doesn't die. Unlike this version, which dies and is more of a turn 7, turn 8 card. Orcus does more face damage than Realmia, but Realmia board clears, heals, and does face damage all at once. This deck seems really, really good, with some issue in that it may not be that consistent, as it has no draw. There's no ways to draw in this deck. That's the only thing I can really think about being a weakness, is you don't get into your draw. Did I think I have anything else to say? No. Midsword. Fighter. Why the hell is Fighter in this deck? The deck has no turn 4 plays when going first. That's the only reason why Fighter gets in. That's why Pildow is at 2 rather than 3, because we have a good turn 4 play. It's Zirconia. We play this on 4, and it's a threat. Or we coin into Lumi when going second. So we have turn 4 plays going second, reasonably. But the deck's macro is, you build a board, you build a second board, you build a third board, you build a fourth board, you Anesta, to hit them in the face, you Iron Crown Majesty to hit them in the face, and on turn 8 or turn 9, you Albert, you evolve it, you clear the board with the AoE, and you hit them in the face for 10, and they explode. Juno's pretty good at dealing with mid-range stuff, but you can run basically any big card in the Juno and Olivia slot. Amelia is the big skill of this deck, and I don't think it's that skillful even. In that, do you play it on 5 or 6 when going second? You coin into it and you have a strong play, strong for turn 5, or do you have a weaker turn 5 when you don't have your Lumi Mage, or when your Lumi Mage is weak, and so you can't super evolve to get your barrier? Or do you wait to get barrier on multiple followers? That's an important question with this card. Also, saving your evolves for Alba is another skill test. I think this deck is pretty simple. Otherwise, pretty easy to play. Roach. Roach is not... Oh, no, sorry. This is a variant of Midsword running Ancestral Crown. Why are we running Ancestral Crown? We go to the card list. And look at the damage effects. We find deal 2. Deal 2. Deal... Well, this does more than 2 technically. Deal 1 some number of times. This is probably dealing like 3, 4, 5, maybe 6 total damage. Deal 1 to the board. Where's the... Apollo, deal 2 to the board. Arcane Explosion, deal 2 to the board. Glade, deal like 7, 8, or 9 Spitter amongst other things. That's not being played on 5. Unfortunately, this kills 3 guys. Deal 7 to the board. 7 Splitter, deal 3, very sad. Deal like 3, very sad. Deal 5, deal a billion. This is spell boost, deal X damage. X is the number of times it's been spell boosted. Deal 3 damage, that's very sad. What Ancestral Crown does is it makes our 2 attack health guys go to 3 health. A lot of the middling matchups for this deck end up being good matchups when you play Crown, as most decks can end up sorting in the Apollo, even my sword lists do, and you'll find Apollo in a lot of my decks, as I think Sword and Blood are 2 of the most important decks to be able to beat. This also works better with like Rusty, which is an aggro sword card. It allows you to hit face for slightly more damage, and makes you harder to clear, which overall is quite useful for mid-sword. I think that this list is just generically better, since the decks that can do 3 damage, the Haven, the Portal, are the more important. Well, the Portal is the most important thing. The Rune can also deal with it. It's really just preventing like the Mirror from clearing your board, random Blood decks, Abyss decks from clearing your board, and Forest from clearing your board. It's going from 9 total health to... Why can't I do 9 plus 13 total health? Significantly impacts Forest's board clear. Then we have Roach Forest. Roach, as you should know, is focused around playing Rhino Roach. Unlike old Roach, which was focused around doing 15 damage, 16 damage, or even 20 damage in a single turn, this deck is going to be doing like 5 damage, and then a 12 damage turn. And then maybe like did a 4 damage turn earlier, and then kills you. So it's going to be doing multiple turns worth of chip into a single high damage turn. We can get the extra damage in a single turn through Deepwood Bounty. being a zero-cost spell. The defensive suite of this deck is large cards can be comboed up into being dealt with by Lily and Bouncing Lily. Medium cards can be dealt with by May's Elf Journey, and small cards can be dealt with by the Rush of Fairies. Deck is pretty inconsistent, I think, as Godward stuff, providing multiple draws, basically an extra draw every turn, seems really impactful. The bounce can be pretty useful as well on your combo turn, as it gives you a zero-cost way to get a second Roach. Also, when you've had one out for a few turns, you can play a second one and bounce a card for more damage. Baby Carbuncle also allows you works as an extender with its 3 extra play points, costing -1. Lampen is basically only played for the Deepwood bounty, but it's not terrible. We also do run Deepwood Fairy for some healing, and this is just like a mid-range removal piece. It may not be worth it, but it seems pretty good. We don't run any additional 3s, so we can run a Working Grasshopper to tutor Rhino Roach, effectively giving us 4, and Glade is a good AoE card. Overall, I think this deck's going to be pretty good, as I put it in tier 1. We have the Just Draw the Good Cards forehead deck. Calamity's Breath might be worth playing, but I'm not sure it's better than Apollo. The reason being that Apollo works early, and later on you're planning on just building your own threats turn after turn, and Calamity doesn't do anything. It's, you know, hit your ramp, play big bunguses. If you run out of juice, you can maybe Cocytus them. Got a bit of healing, got a bit of removal, got a bit of draw, got a recycle effect. It's alright. No deck is really going to be able to deal with everything you present. I'm running 3s here, 2 Forte, because I think this is better on curve. For Forte, 3 Forte, 2s here makes sense as well. Overall, you're just trying to build multiple big boards turn after turn and force your opponent to deal with you rather than deal with them, since you have scant good options for dealing with that stuff. Aggro Dragon then goes and says, Fan of Otahime is really fucking good. Syrian Dragonhood's pretty strong. You know, Intimidate's a pretty good bit of text. And then it plays more aggressively. This Otohime's Bodyguard having Storm and Ward essentially means that every single card that isn't particularly good just becomes a Novice Trooper. Novice Trooper is pretty okay in an Aggro Dragon. You can then discard it alongside Marion and get a 5 attack guy. You can then super evolve it and chunk your opponent for 8 very, very consistently. With Forte doing the same thing. You're going to be hitting your opponent for 8s very, very consistently with this deck. Given you have the Fan of Otohime's, giving you more discard options, the Gayu is significantly easier to play. And the deck lacks 3s, so I ended up thinking Vision's Detective is better than the Storm guy.